In this video, I'm going to be explaining how you can use your knowledge of colour theory to pick the right pigments for your clients. If you've already done a beginner's brow course, then you should have a basic knowledge and understanding of your colour wheel and your Fitzpatrick scale. If this is a standalone treatment for you and you're learning beginner's lips as a totally new thing, then the basics of colour theory and the Fitzpatrick scale would have been covered in the previous module. So this goes into a little bit more depth and it'll give you a little bit more understanding of your pigment choice and why you're choosing those pigments for each client. So when you're looking at your lip blush pigments, generally you're going to have red and pink pigments. All your pigments are going to be variations of reds and pinks. They're going to have different colours added to them to get different tones. So when you look at a pink, you can see some are going to have more purple, more blue in them to get those pinky tones, and they're the ones that are going to be very cool. They're going to give a cooler appearance to your client's lips. And then you're going to have pinks and reds that have got more oranges added to them, and then that's going to make them warmer. What you need to take into consideration when you're looking at pigments is actually your client's lip tissue colour. If you've got a client that comes in with very cool undertoned lip, then you're going to need to use a warmer pigment. So I'm going to be explaining about hue, saturation and value. It's going to give you a good idea of what to look for in your lip pigment colours, but also your client's lip tissue colour, and it will help you make decisions based on those two factors. What you need to look at when you're identifying a colour is the hue, the saturation and the value. When I talk about the hue, I'm talking about the colour, such as red, orange, green, blue, indigo, violet, any kind of colour. And then you need to look at the saturation, and that's the intensity of the colour. Desaturated colours tend to look very grey and muted. And then what you want to look at is the value, the lightness. So this is a spectrum from dark to light. Now I'm going to explain how I apply those principles when I'm looking at clients' lips. What I want to identify when I look at my clients' lips is the hue, the saturation and the value. So I can clearly see here purple hue to my client's lips. That means that she's got a very cool undertone, and that's going to affect my pigment choice. The saturation of the colour is actually quite good on the bottom lip, not so good on the top lip. Again, that's going to affect my colour choice because I'm going to need to pick a colour that's going to cover it effectively. And then the value of that colour. It's quite a light purple. I wouldn't say it's a deep, dark purple. So again, that's going to affect my colour choice when it comes to choosing a pigment. So when you're dealing with very cool undertoned lips, it's really important to make sure that you don't add more coolness to those lips. Otherwise, you're going to end up with blue or very purple lips, and we don't want that. My client wanted a pale pink healed result. So what I decided to do was use a warm pink pigment, and then I added some modifier to it. When I say modifier, I'm talking about certain orangey based pigments. In this case, I used Tina Davis Flame, which is a great mod to use. So we used Rosewood, Permablend Rosewood Luxe and 3 drops of Flame, and I'm going to show you the healed result. So as you can see, the healed result was her desired colour, a pale pink. It's actually changed the whole look of her lips. She's gone from having a very purpley, cool lip tones for it being really warmed up and a lot more well defined. So if a client came to me with this lip tone, then I would look at the hue and I can see nice pinky warm tones. I can't see any blues or purples. The saturation is medium to good and the value is medium. So this client really could have a lot of different options for colours, and you wouldn't need to make too many adjustments to the colour. You could put in 1 drop of Flame as a safety to see how she heals. So now I'm going to show you how you can apply the same principles to your lip blush pigments. So firstly, I'm going to look at the hue, and I would say this is a red hue, but it's also got some purple undertones there. It's quite a cool colour. The saturation, it's quite an intense colour, and the value is dark. It's a dark red. It's also very cool, and I would be careful using this, especially on older clients or clients with a cooler undertone to their lips. So this is Tina Davis Cinnamon, a really popular colour, and the hue is pink, but it's got some brown tones in there. It's a much warmer colour. The saturation is medium and the value is medium. It's not a dark colour. I wouldn't necessarily use this on someone with quite a strong lip colour. You will get people come in and they've got quite red lips already. This probably wouldn't create enough coverage. So to sum things up, when it comes to lip blushing, there are really two important elements when choosing a pigment for your client, and that's the colour of the pigment but also the colour of the lip tissue. Get used to evaluating people's lip tissue. Start looking around you now, look at your friends and your family and start evaluating. And always remember that lip blush is done over 2 sessions. Don't panic if your client comes back on the warm side or on the cooler side. You can adjust formula and tweak your pigment choices to get the perfect results at the retouch.